Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are on verse 30 of chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita. Just to recap a bit, last week in verse 29, we talked about pranayam as one of the yagnas, and then we saw in detail, and then Kamlaji explained and all that, what pranayam is in more detail. And then it's interesting, she was talking about food and upvas and all that, and here the next one is about the food in yagna. But just a reminder, these are just one of the various ones. So nobody needs to feel like I have to do everything. Because last time, the discussion was going on as though maybe I just felt that if you don't do this, as though you're missing on something. It's not like that at all. That could be one of the things, or they may not be, and it's totally fine because you have an array of yagnas. Karma yoga, everybody has to do. That there is no doubt, that there is no choice over there. But when it comes to various yagna, you could do all of them, you could do part of it, you could do only to a certain point, because everybody's different. And you will see that, Swamiji's commentary is going to caution against certain things that people take a wrong side of it. So we have to be. In Bhagavad Gita, we got to keep the balance. So I'm going to chant verse 30. Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu jubhati sarve pyete yagnavidaha yagnakshapita kalmashaha. Apare is other person, niyata aharaha, of regulated food. Pranan, life breaths, vital airs. Life breath is vital airs. Praneshu, in the vital air. And we have discussed what pranas are. Jubhati is sacrifice. Sarve is all. Api is also. Ete is these. Yagna vidaha, knowers of sacrifice. Yagna kshapita kalmashaha, whose sins are destroyed by sacrifice. So here he's talking about, see, the word he has used is very interesting in Bhagavad Gita. He calls it niyata aharaha. What is niyata is well regulated. So we don't need to get, starve yourself or overeat, something in between, but regulated, it has a very loaded meaning, and it can mean many different angles. Each depends on what the person is practicing. So, keeping that in mind, so there are some people, Krishna Bhagwan says, that use food to kind of regulate their moods or mind and body. We all know that body is made up of food only, but sometimes we don't think about it. Mind is also called subtle matter in Vedanta. It is subtle matter, scientifically also, because when we talk about consciousness is different from matter in that respect, right? Consciousness is does not get affected by matter. And when it comes to mind and intellect, even though it looks like energy, but it is not consciousness. It is subtle matter. So that means what the food that we eat, so the grossest part of the food comes out as excretion. We throw it out of our body, right? The subtle part becomes all our rest of the body, like our blood and our tissues, everything is by food only. Everybody agrees, right? subtlest part of it, mind is made. So there is a role of food in the mind also. And we don't need to be a rocket scientist to know this, but if we eat very heavy meal, immediately अपना mind dull हो जाता है. नींद आने लगती है वगैरह वगैरह. And if you eat the fruits and some light food and all that, then your energy levels is different. So we know that it does affect the food. And then obviously, we'll go a little bit more into it. And one of the Swami said very interesting thing. He said, Bhagavad Gita का एक बात इतनी अच्छी है कि जो भी कुछ भगवान बोलते हैं ना एक वर्ष में, आगे जाके उसका और खुलासा करेंगे दूसरे वर्ष में. So Bhagavad Gita itself is a commentary on itself. So the food part comes very much in detail in chapter 17. Whoever has read the entire Gita, Meena ji knows. So when we go there, we will even go, but we'll touch upon few things since it has come, because here it is like just mentioned, but we will talk about it. So what do people do what do they mean by niyata ahara, that they use this as a yagna? Because they try to regulate their food basically, because they know that you can kind of influence the BMI with it basically. So how do they regulate it? It could be, one of the thing could be type of food, and then we know that in chapter 17 it is explained that there are 3 different kinds of categories of food: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. So another interesting thing is that our shastras don't divide it into like vegetarian or non-vegetarian food. They don't talk it like that. Okay, it is just talked about the rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic food. Because one of the other interesting things the Swami said was that every food is alive from that perspective. Because you cannot eat dead material in a sense, like just some piece of stone or something. So जो हम लोग fruits, vegetables जो भी खाते हैं उसमें भी life है, but उसका extent different होता है. The manifestation of life is at a lower level. That's why we like to take. And then because of the rajasic, sattvic, tamasic food so it depends on what you want. So what kind of effect these have? So obviously the best food is the sattvic food. Why? Because it's healthy for your body. It does body good, it does the mind good, it does everything good in you. Rajasic में क्या होता है कि you become a little bit activeness आती है rajasic से, but also agitation happens. So all the things that go with agitation, group, वो सब होने लगता है rajasic food से, competition, ये वो, the rajasic qualities when we study we will see. But basically, that makes you, negative part is it makes you agitated. What does tamasic food do? Dull and sleepy, lazy, intoxicated. All the intoxicants जो है ना, food का, alcohol का, सब tamasic में जाता है. So this is a little bit idea that what food does. And then how do people regulate it? So firstly, they, if somebody wants to do more meditation, more shastra studies, obviously they will want to eat more sattvic food, it's like that, And the second is, there later on it's going to come that even preparation of food is a part of this regulation of diet. So like, who is preparing it? According to them, उसमें भी energy level का फर्क पड़ता है. We know कि अगर अपने को अपने मम्मी और दादी वगैरह का कितना अच्छा लगता है ना, नानी दादी का सबका, because a lot of love is there and they really want to feed you, and you can see the energy level is totally different versus somebody who's like does it in anger and frustration and things like that, or somebody is just cooking for money, But even among chefs, I have seen some chefs love to cook and feed you. Money is a secondary object for them. I have met those kind of people, who are absolutely love to. So all those are consideration. Or in a restaurant food versus home food. And, so even that one, even though there is a science behind it, we already know from observation that that's true. And then they even, in Shastras, they even go as far as, how did you acquire the food? Is it acquired by money that you have earned or money that you have stolen? Or so uska bhi asar hota hai. Can you believe that? Itna far reaching hai. So when we say well regulated diet, all those things do come in it, because they settle energy. And then Other thing is, there are people who offer the food to Bhagwan first. So they call it Naivedya then. And on a regular basis, every day they do that. And Naivedya ka asar dusra hoga, because you're taking it like a prasad. So you're purifying it, you're offering it to God, and and all that. And that's why it's Hare Krishna, because Mandir is very close to my house. And their food team is absolutely awesome. इतने वो लोग प्रेम से बनाते हैं पहली बात तो, और इतना प्रेम से खिलाते हैं. Or I mean, I just feel the fantastic energy. It's been like so many years now, 4 or 5. Their food has never failed. It is fresh, it's good, it's wholesome, and there's so much positive energy because the way they present it to you and the way they give it to you. So all that, it comes under the same food thing. And of course, if the food is going to have preservatives and all that, because these days, that has become a huge problem. It's not so good for your body, because one of the Swami said that intention is to preserve, so तुम्हारी body में भी जाके बैठ जाता है वो food. It's basically not good for you. So all those things. And then the other thing was, there was one more. Oh yes, about vrats. So vrat can have a many different formats, because last time Kamalaji was talking about just on Nimbu Pani. That's one of the extreme kind of vrats, and not everybody has to do it at all. But if you see extreme cases, but those people firstly it's conducive to them. And one of the Swami said, as far as maybe in previous life they have done that sadhana of, like that kind of, that's why they gravitate towards it. And they can easily do it. But it doesn't mean if Mr. A or Miss A is doing it, I have to do it, because you may have not conducive to you, So that is very, very important thing to keep in mind, that, because there is a whole, in our Shastra, there is a story of Parvati ji. Parvati ji ka naam Aparna hai, right? And anybody knows why the name was Aparna? Very interesting story. So the reason was that she wanted to marry Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is, like a personification of Brahman, So very pure. So she had to make herself pure. So for that, she started doing tapas. So when she went in the jungle, she first gave up food, like in a sense, she only ate fruits. जैसे बोलते हैं ना, ऋषि मुनि जो जंगल में रहते हैं वो लोग कंद मूल और फ्रूट्स खाते हैं, बस बेरीज और वगैरह खाते हैं वो लोग. So she became that. Then she left fruits also, and then she started having पत्ते खाने लगी. वो भी गिरे हुए पत्ते, not picking from the tree. और पत्ते को संस्कृत में पर्ण कहते हैं, पर्ण. फिर उसने ना पत्ते भी खाना छोड़ दिया, and she was only drinking water, and then she became Aparna. So पर्ण से पर्ण खाना छोड़ दिया तो अपर्णा हो गया. That's how she got the name Aparna, And then it seems she left water also. She was just on air. But because of her tapas, she was getting this yoga siddhi and all that. So that's why that was her journey. And then she was only on like air and energy from the sun. And I think I had talked to you about this man who came to Houston, who didn't eat. Did I talk to you about that fellow in my class ever before? So when I was in Houston, one fellow came from India. He had the siddhi. He had trained his body in such a way that he said that he can directly from the sun, he gets the energy. He doesn't need food. So बहुत तहलका मच गया वहाँ पर ह्यूस्टन में कि भाई ये कौन सा आदमी है. फिर some of the university वाला did some experiment on him, kept him in a room, make sure he's not quietly going and eating and things like that. And then he gave a lecture, public lecture and all that. And he said, look, this is not a magic or anything. I'm not a magician. This is just a sadhana that I've been doing for a very long time. And he was saying that how you have to observe the sun in the morning and evening for about 15 minutes, half an hour or something. And it's a scientific thing, because he was saying that everything that we get in our body is from the sun only. That everybody agrees, right? खाने में भी जो energy है वो sun से ही है. जितने भी heat source है सब sun से ही आता है. Okay? So he's saying that he has somehow trained his body to directly get that energy. So it's not like he's not getting any energy and into some magician. And he's saying that anybody can learn that sadhana from his perspective. If somebody is conducive to that, you can learn and you can do it. And another reference I remember of this same situation was in whoever has read Autobiography of Yogi. He talks about a woman in there who didn't eat. She had this siddhi too, that she did not eat. So those things are possible, but doesn't mean that everybody can do it. And there are some people who can do it. That is the extreme case we are talking about. And the other upvas, we don't need to talk about. In a sense, we all know. India में चले जाओ, 500 different type के उपवास लोग रखते हैं. किसी में यही ऐसी टाइप का खाना खाते हैं, दूसरे में खट्टा नहीं खाते हैं, तीसरे में. Those are all basically what they're trying to do is they are trying to control their body, mind, and pranas with it, by doing that. So the variety within the food also, niyata ahar mein bhi variety is tremendous, So it depends on what you want to do, how much you want to do, what is conducive to you, all of that. Okay? And that is one part of this about the food. So I talked, I think, quite a bit. And then when we go to 17th chapter, then we will go more in detail of what kind of food is rajasic, tamasic, and all that. We'll learn that. Second line of this verse says, all these are knowers of sacrifice, whose sins are destroyed by sacrifice. So he's talking about now all of the different yagnas that he talked about. And he said that these are the knowers of yagnas, means they know the technique, how to do it. And the most important thing, by doing this, by all different yagnas, their sins are destroyed. It's not like you got the self-realization. Sins are destroyed means your mind gets purer. So you cannot directly go to that, but this is the means to purify your mind. And then in that purified mind, the knowledge takes place in meditation, basically. That's what the whole idea is. So this is a means to purify your mind. And sins, in Vedantic language, sin is something which is taking you away from Bhagwan or taking you away from Brahman. So sin is not considered like, oh my God, ye to aadmi papi hai, aisa kuch nahi hai. Anything, even agitation of your mind is considered sin in Vedanta. Why? Because your mind is agitated, you cannot think of God. That's why it is sin. So thoda definition is a little more broad and not as negative as we put it, like that. So just we have to understand what they mean by here, sin. Any question on these points?
I have a question, Umaji. So with food, and I know that it will be explained later in chapter 17 you just mentioned, but I understand what sattvic food is and I understand what tamasic food is, but can you give some example of rajasic food that can cause agitation but it can also be good for you? I mean, something.
See, rajasic is,
I didn't understand that.
Yes, okay. So if I categorize all three, you will get it very quickly. So sattvic food is supposed to be, like uske thode characters, जो भी मुझे थोड़ा याद आ रहा है 17 से मैं बताऊंगी, पूरा नहीं है. So because we can go and read it over there. कि chikna food, snigdha, something agreeable to you, and those kind of things, ghee, butter, doodh, ye sab cheez, certain fruits, pears and all that, they come in sattvic food. Okay? And rajasic is tikshna, tikha, ज़्यादा नमकीन, तीखा चाट, पकौड़े वगैरह, ये सब राजसिक में जाता है. Okay? Because, like people who are very active, उनको बहुत अच्छा लगता है सब खाना. मुझे भी बहुत अच्छा लगता है सब चाट. हाँ, and so because in America also it's a more rajasic country, right? And when you are young also, you love all these food. And as you say, as we get older, like first I used to crave for these things a lot more in my younger days. Now I don't crave for it that much, So we change in our lifetime also. So ये सब चीजें होती है राजसिक. और तामसिक है बासी खाना, meat, alcohol, things that are like, वो सब तामसिक में जाता है. So now we gave you some idea, right?
Yeah, so राजसिक को भी avoid करना चाहिए, है ना?
if somebody wants a very क्या बोलना चाहिए, very very सात्विक life, see सात्विक का ऐसा है, nothing is in a box first of all कि भाई ये इसको इसमें बिठा दिया तो यही है. In fact, somebody told even more interesting, people who are in like Ayurveda and all that, it's possible that a particular fruit, when is eaten by two different people, it has two different effects on them. एक को राजसिक इफेक्ट होगा, दूसरे को तामसिक होगा. So you have to listen to your own body also. Have you seen that, oh ये चीज तो बहुत अच्छी है, खानी ही चाहिए, और कोई उसको ज्यादा खा ले तो उसके लिए जहर बन जाता है वो. I mean, it happened to my daughter-in-law that my sister said, oh, ajwain is very good in pregnancy and you should give ajwain ka pani. So her own mother started giving her so much ajwain ka pani, she developed a rash on her body. So because she was overdoing it. So then, and my son like, what is happening? And then he Googled and then my sister said, हाँ ये अजवाइन बहुत गर्म करती है. तो कोई अच्छी चीज होती है ना, उसका क्वांटिटी भी राइट होना चाहिए. Because
जैसे कि for example, I like to eat the fruit, उसको काट के चॉप करके नींबू चाट मसाला खूब चटपटा बना के, I like that. अब वो सात्विक हुआ कि राजसिक हो गया?
तो वो I think it's a mixed now. So even Rajasic Sattvic maybe ऐसा नहीं है कि it can be like a mixed also. Just like जो गुणास है ना, ये जो हमारे जो क्या बोलते हैं वर्ण व्यवस्था जो है, वो भी एकदम टाइट बॉक्सेस में नहीं है. You could have some Brahmanic qualities and some Rajasic also. It's a whole range. So you cannot throw it in one category. You can call it mixed also. Because fruit itself is सात्विक, but उसमें मसाला वसाला डाल के उसको थोड़ा राजसिक बना दिया आपने. और ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई ये फूड एकदम ही खराब है, वो भी ऐसे गलत फहमी में मत रहना. Because we all need to be a little bit active. See, the people who are sitting in the Himalayas and doing tapasya, 18 hours a day, they need to be totally sattvic. पर हम लोग को जो काम धाम करना होता है तो हम लोग थोड़ा राजसिक फूड खाएंगे, उसमें कोई खराबी नहीं है. But if you, yeah, exactly. So it is very, very important to get this Bhagavad Gita in a correct manner. And that's why I was telling you from last week's discussion, whoever cannot do certain kind of vratas, please don't at all feel bad about it, because your body may not be conducive to it. Whatever Kamlaji can do, none of us may be able to do it, because we can do something else. Because there is a whole range of things. And then Bhagwan ने clearly बोल दिया यहाँ पर कि all it does, it destroys your sin, meaning it makes your mind pure. That they are not guaranteeing you by doing this you're going to become self-realized. This is a preparation for it. So that's another angle that we all must understand, this, that there's nothing. Because we were having a discussion, Sneha is here, when she was talking about Nimbu Pani, Sneha said you can add a little bit mirchi, and Kamlaji said, oh no, don't do that. Who said don't do that? Maybe for Sneha that mirchi is a good thing for her. See what I'm saying? And maybe
she produces heat,
That's what I'm saying, that maybe somebody's body needs that heat.
Little bit black pepper is allowed, because I've read the Master Cleanser's book.
So exactly. So then somebody might have a body that will benefit them if you eat. That's why you have to do it under a guidance. These kind of extreme kind of thing, you should never do it on. I know that Anilji's family, I think your dad is a Ayurvedic person, right? और आपकी फैमिली में कोई है?
Yeah, our whole family followed
Ayurveda. अभी आयुर्वेदा इनको पूछो, आयुर्वेदा में they don't treat a disease, they treat a person. उसका पूरा वो लोग देखते हैं कि इसकी बॉडी को क्या चीज की जरूरत है, और जो चीज वो अनिल जी को बोलेंगे वो मुझे नहीं बोलेंगे, वो आपको नहीं बोलेंगे आयुर्वेदा में, बिकॉज उसकी बॉडी टाइप पे डिपेंड करेगा.
But that's how when they take your pulse, they diagnose the doshas that you have.
Correct.
Vata, Kapha, Pitta. So based on what dosh you have, they prescribe you what food you should avoid and what food is better for you.
Exactly. So that tells you that for one person that pure nimbu pani may be good with honey, another person may need a mirchi in it. And they both are totally, absolutely fine. So we do not need to get fanatic about anything. And especially the Bhagavad Gita students, keep that balance in mind. Okay.
और ये अजवाइन का है ना, we should not give it in pregnancy. After pregnancy you need to give
नहीं,
अजवाइन.
आफ्टर प्रेगनेंसी दिया उसको, मगर वो एक तो ये अपने बच्चों को ना आदत नहीं है.
जब पानी में डालना चाहिए उसको साथ सौंफ डालनी चाहिए. The सौंफ is cooling.
Correct. And in the beginning I didn't have the soft. She didn't have it actually. The later on I gave her. Basically what I'm telling you is supposed to be a good thing, and it did help her in the beginning. But because she was overdosing on it, the mom was giving her 3 times a day or something, some ridiculous thing. Because हम लोग balance भूल जाते हैं. वो ये चीज़ तो बहुत अच्छी, वेस्ट में बहुत होता है ये, कि कोई भी चीज़ अच्छी है और उसका डबल डोज ट्रिपल डोज become toxic for you. So even with the regulated diet, listen to your body. You should know the whole system. You should know why you are doing it, and then do it, rather than blindly copying. Mr. A is doing, I must do this. No, don't do that. Okay. So any other question?
Well, one was when you said the body becomes, if you overeat, etc., and it's lethargic or something, if you like. Is it the prana that is circulating? The prana is the vital energy that's circulating. Does that have an effect? Is that what we're talking about?
That's exactly what happens. Because, medically speaking, you can say, आजकल के जो modern science में, they will have a different markers to say कि भाई बहुत ज़्यादा खा लिया तो it's overloading the system. You don't even have to be a scientist. Just think of it, machine है. Machine को तुम overload करोगे तो क्या होगा? सब कुछ slow हो जाएगा. You're throwing so much food, and your liver or your kidneys all have to work harder, and after a while they get tired. So that and then if you look at it, prana, so prana की energy flow नहीं हो रही है ठीक से.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
then,
exactly. So you can look at it this way or that way. Both way you can justify it, because both ways it's correct.
I mean, that's why I think they say, you have the stomach should be food, and 1/4 should be air,
Yes.
and 1/4 should be liquid or fluid.
Yes, but in America हम लोग की क्या problem है? I do the same thing. हम लोग ठूस के खाते हैं. जो भूख होती है उसे थोड़ा सा कम खाओ ना, then it's supposed to be better for exactly the reason you're saying, that you need some space in your stomach. But like somebody was saying to me, and we never think about these things. This is हम लोग की generation, because we are all kind of similar age group. When we were growing up, तो हमेशा fresh खाना बनता था, right? सुबह का शाम को हम लोग कभी नहीं खाते थे. उसको बासी खाना बोलते थे, right? And chapter 17 में आएगा, 3 hours, if you want absolutely fresh, no more than 3 hours.
Yes.
You know that. Refrigerator has been a disaster for our bodies, because सब कुछ बचा के उसमें हम लोग, और फिर अमेरिका में जब हम लोग आए थे ना, शुरू में मेरा कजिन आया था 60s में, so उन्होंने बताया कि कैसे women are also working, men are working, and then these Indian families, they were they used to cook for the whole week and put in the fridge. And India में हम लोग बैठ के, like my mom and all that, they were horrified. एक हफ्ते का खाना साथ में बना के फ्रिज में डाल देते. अभी हम लोग भी कभी पड़ा रहता है, एक हफ्ते का खाते हम लोग भी.
We do. I mean, when I work.
Yeah, exactly. So but
things are ready, so in the fridge.
True. But it has some kind of level pay. It has harmed our body too. If you think about it, if you eat completely fresh versus you eat old, there is a difference. Whatever you say, there is a difference.
We never had refrigerators in ancient times.
Exactly. So that's why you are forced to eat the fresh food. But now, because of this modern and then the shelf life of everything is so much, and then we overstuff. अभी यहाँ पर कैलिफोर्निया में तो खैर इतना नहीं है, मगर if you go to Midwest and all that, वहाँ पर तो लोग के 2-2, 3-3 फ्रीजर होते हैं इसमें garage में, and then they store so much food.
I think in America, thank God, we have it, and in India also they are using now refrigerators.
Oh, nowadays it's everywhere. But
because it doesn't spoil if you refrigerate it in a correct manner.
True, but from the scientific perspective, and from the Vedic and from the Ayurvedic style, where it is not as kosher and as good as a fresh food. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that. You grow your own food and you make it and you eat it. There's a huge difference in the taste. If you put it in the refrigerator, next day it tastes different. If you eat after 4 days, again it tastes different. You know?
Only farmers can afford to cook.
Yeah, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just stating facts. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that tomorrow to stop using your refrigerator. I also do it, and I do all of that. Whatever you guys do, I also do it. But this is educating ourselves. What we could do, which I did once I came to know these things, I try to make it less of that. Try to eat little more fresh food. Don't freeze too much stuff. You know, those some adjustments we can do. You know, that's all. You know, nobody's saying they're completely changed. No, we cannot live like that anymore. You know.
Yeah, I've started making those changes, but after I retired, when I was working, it was
Yeah, and after retirement,
बना के रखा
true. And वो एक वो ना मजबूरी का नाम महात्मा गांधी. Like, when you're majboor, you have to do. But now that you have some extra time, you can afford to change because you change now. That's all it is. We are doing.
Also about the food, I don't know whether this chapter or later on 17 read that according to your, like you're a brahmachari or a kshatri, or the food also depends upon that also.
True.
I mean, what type of, if you're going for a war or something, those people are going to need different type of food than the ones who are Brahmins and sitting in one place and eating that. So that also categorizes food in that respect as well.
Yes, very, very interesting point, and that's absolutely true. And that's why traditionally in India, the meat was eaten by the Kshatriyas
Yes.
and the Shudras. Brahmins and Vaishyas didn't eat meat, And that was because the Brahmins had to do meditation and all that. And, the Vaishyas they didn't have to go fight and things like that. But जो Kshatriya warrior होएगा, उसको राजसिक food खाना ही पड़ेगा. Or the reason they ate meat and all that, where they're going in the jungles, यहाँ वहाँ survive कैसे करेंगे?
Actually, in this paragraph, it says that to suit the temperament, function,
Yes.
and duties of the persons.
There you go.
Okay, so I read there probably. I was thinking I've read somewhere because
Yeah.
we're doing 17th chapter on
Yeah,
Sunday
yeah.
and this one. So I was trying to compare. Okay.
Yes, so you are both of you true. And then the other part I was going to say that आयुर्वेदा में तो ये भी बताएं कौन सी सीजन में क्या खाना चाहिए. अगर तुमको एकदम कंड्यूसिव करना है तो फिर वो आयुर्वेदा में तो पूरा गाइडलाइन है और वो लोग सीजनल फ्रूट्स भी बोलते हैं. See, आजकल the way the world has become, you get every fruit and every vegetable 12 months in a year, because they have made the marketing in such a way and वो green house में उगाते हैं क्या करते हैं मालूम नहीं. इंडिया में they didn't have all that in those days, so वो seasonal fruit is more conducive to your body. Summer में आम खाओ.
Local fruit. Sorry,
Local.
Anil, go ahead.
हाँ बोलिए.
What I'm saying is, at one time when I was only 40 years old, I developed some food allergies, very serious ones. So I went to see a scientist at NIH, and he told me, because you are eating all the food all year long, that's how you develop allergies. So he said, these foods, you give up for 6 months, and then you can start eating again.
Interesting.
We did not eat wheat for a long, long time. We were finding new ways of making roti, bajre ki, iski, all kind of new grains. And it worked.
Yeah, true. And पुराने जमाने में आपको पता होगा कि खाली वीट कोई नहीं खाता था. बाजरे की खाते थे और ये कॉर्न की खाते थे और वो पता नहीं और भी कुछ कुट्टू क्या होता है ना. और फिर पता नहीं कहाँ से ये ट्रेंड आ गया 24 घंटे वो बाजरे वीट ही खाए जा रहे हैं. तो that's why it happens, this allergy. And then also I heard, which I didn't know, that the wheat in America, the normal wheat is really contaminated. उसको इतना उसको genetically change कर दिया, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया. It has become bad for you.
Very bad.
Yeah.
And then corn, soya, and wheat, these are all GMOs,
Right.
mostly, and very, very bad.
Exactly.
So
That's why so many of them develop allergy. हमने कभी milk को भी कितना manipulate करते हैं इस country में, तभी तो सभी को milk allergy हो रही है. My son just told me that the doctor told him he has milk allergy. So I said, oh, I'm lactose intolerant. I said, every second person that I meet in America is become lactose intolerant. India में कभी, when I was growing up, सुना भी नहीं था, you know,
बिल्कुल.
because they manipulate over here too much. अब थोड़ी थोड़ी अक्ल आई है, मगर damage has already been done. You know, so anyway, it's a huge topic. You can see we can spend, but at least we got the gist of it. That you know that it does. What bottom line over here is food does affect your body, mind, and pranas. So at least try to remember that and try to eat healthy, balanced. That's it. And you know, and किसी को और उसमें science में जाना है, आराम से जा सकता है वो. You know, and do what is conducive to your body. Okay, shall we read? Any volunteer to read? No? Who has not read for a while would like to read? अनिल जी आप ही पढ़ दीजिए.
Others with well-regulated diet offer vital airs in the vital air. All these are knowers of sacrifice, whose sins are destroyed by sacrifice. There are some who, through systematic regulation of their diet, come to gain a complete mastery over themselves and their appetites and passions. Dieting is not at all a new technique in India. The ancient rishis not only knew the vitamin contents and the calorie values of the various food materials, but also prescribed very scientific combinations of the available vegetables and cereals to suit the temperament, function, and duties of the persons belonging to different levels of society. Not only this, they so well perfected their knowledge that they even showed how, through regulated dieting, a man's character and behavior, and ultimately his very cultural quality, can be purified and raised.
So you saw that we have discussed all of these aspects, and that I just remembered one thing, that you know some people are so क्या बोलना चाहिए, sensitive to this whole thing, that वो किसी और के हाथ का भी नहीं खाते हैं. कभी हमारी फैमिली में भी कोई कोई होते थे ना, पहली बात तो रेस्टोरेंट का कभी नहीं खाएंगे वो लोग, and then they will not eat from anybody's hand. 99.9% they'll cook themselves and eat, because they just don't want anybody else's subtle energies to get into them. You know, थोड़ा बहुत फर्क होता है एनर्जी का, you know, so they just want, you know, थोड़ा प्योर रखना चाहते हैं, so they just cook themselves and eat. ऐसा भी होता है.
The verse adds that all these knowers of yagna, meaning all those who know the art of living these techniques, when they practice them in a spirit of self-dedication and selfless enthusiasm, can fully come to profit by them. These methods and techniques do not promise that they will, of themselves, guide us or lead us to the Supreme. It is promised that all those who practice all, or a few, or even one of them, for a sufficiently long period, can become purified of their sins.
You saw this is a very important paragraph, that it's not directly going to lead you to self-realization, you know, either all or few or even one. But what is the other 3 points they are talked about? Spirit of self-dedication, selfless enthusiasm, not for show off, not for any of that, but, you know, selfless enthusiasm, and sufficiently long period of time. लोग नहीं तो बहुत impatient हो जाते हैं ना, ओ मैंने तो अपना डाइट चेंज कर लिया, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, you know, how many days? Oh, 3-4 days. कुछ नहीं होने वाला. You got to do it for months or probably years, you know. So you already got all the points, huh?
So, Umeji, isn't this also to get your mind and your intellect and your body ready for meditation.
True.
Because if
100%.
you have agitation in your body or mind, you cannot meditate.
True. Yeah. That's why it's called, these are, yagnas are all for preparation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a preparatory thing. Yes.
Sin, we have already discussed, is but a wrong pattern of thought channel that is etched in a mind of devolutionary thoughts entertained by a deluded ego in its extreme misunderstanding and its consequent attachment with the body and sense objects.
I mean, look at how long this sentence is. But इसका basic क्या है कि wrong patterns of thought channels. Because हमारी wrong thinking है. So we जो बोलते हैं ना कि विवेक नहीं है. You know, real and unreal में we get mixed up. And then it's going to come in Kathopanishad that how you have to do Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasam. Mananam जब भी करते हैं ना, we are separating what is Brahman from the rest of it. The separation is called Mananam. So he's saying that we have devolutionary thoughts, lower, baser thoughts, entertained by what? Ego. Deluded ego. Ego is deluded ho gaya hai ki bhai, these worldly things are real. So then that becomes like a devolutionary thoughts and extreme misunderstanding. Say, attachment to the body and sense objects. So that जो भी ये category में आता है उसको sin बोला गया है. Anything that takes you there is called sin.
It is these sinful vasanas that make the ego act like an animal and force it to commit low and vicious criminalities. The practices mentioned here not only wipe clean the existing wrong vasanas, but cut out in their place new channels of thoughts, more constructive and evolutionary in their very nature.
So here is your answer, like Anilji, that your existing wrong vasanas को clean कर दिया और जो नई अच्छी वाली बना दी, अच्छे channels बना दिए, So your things, you're getting better in your life, purer.
So it's like reformatting a computer disk.
Absolutely.
The new program.
Yeah, excellent analogy. Yes.
Thus, it must be carefully noted that all practices, physical, mental, or intellectual, that are generally known as divine and religious, are, without exception, only techniques by which the mind and intellect equipment gets adjusted for greater and more effective self-application in meditation.
There you go. See, whatever you were saying, that's what he's saying, huh?
Meditation is the path in which the ego learns to withdraw its false evaluations of itself in particular and of life in general and comes to the final experience of its own divine nature. We often find sincere seekers getting so extremely attached to their own path of practice that they constantly argue about it among themselves.
You saw that Krishna Bhagwan and Swamiji, that they know exactly what people do. So he's warning you, don't get attached to your own path, have an open mind. Yes.
Sometimes you want to hit yourself when you read this, oh my God.
Because ऐसा लगता है कि मैं जो कर रही हूँ वही सबसे बेस्ट है और मैं पूरी दुनिया को ये करना चाहिए बस सब कुछ भूल के. So we cannot do that because each person may be different,
Absolutely. I think it's very important how, like you said, listen to your body.
Yes.
Your body will tell you what is comfort for you and what is not.
Yes, absolutely.
You may taste the food and you may enjoy the food, but later on you may feel miserable,
Yes.
Because
Yeah. How it sits, how it digests, how do you feel after a few hours, all that counts when you take the food. Yeah.
Therefore, Arjun has been instructed here that all paths, however noble and great they may be, are all but means and not an end in themselves.
That's another very important thing. They are just means that's not going to give you the final. And there are people, there are complete different side of it. ये food से regulate करते हैं लोग. और जो साधु संत महात्मा जो लोग घूमते हैं ना इतने क्या बोलते हैं हिमालय पे, वो भिक्षा लेके खाते हैं Can you believe that? उसमें that means उसको जो दिया वो खाना पड़ेगा वो. He cannot sit there and say ये अच्छा नहीं है, किसने बनाया ये वो. But they are at a different level. They have already crossed that level which is going to affect them like this. They are in much higher state of mind. See that how much there is a range of this whole thing. So we cannot think that, oh, food is going to control everything. No. If you can go beyond the food also, but for general people, yes, it does affect, and we are still in that category. So by regulating our food, we can definitely improve our mind, body, and pranas. There's no doubt for us, for at least this group, So.
In all the above enumerated 12 different yagna techniques, self-effort is a common factor, and therefore the Lord says.
So this is going to be the next one. And since we have a shorter time today, so I'm going to go to Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad, the subject has already started and is pretty heavy. Any question or comment on this particular verse? I think everybody got the gist, right? Everybody okay with it? Okay. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarvapapebhyah mokshayishyami ma shujah. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.